Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve, and I do that, of course, through my show, People of Distinction, aired on top networks, including, you could say, the toppest, Apple's iTunes Radio Network, under their special news talk division with professionals. And they air CBS shows, Fox News, NPR, BBC, C-SPAN as well. Top talk in the country, around the world, as I mentioned, on Apple's iTunes Radio Network. And I also have my alliances, nationally and internationally, starting with Ariana Huffington, the wonderful founder of the Huffington Post and her Thrive Global Network that draws millions, and a whole bunch of other things going on. Dee Wallace, one of my clients, airing her shows through my Apple stream, and I have other clients who air their podcasts as well through Apple, through me. Al Cole Broadcasting, it's called. And Dee Wallace is the actress who starred in one of the biggest films ever, Steven Spielberg's E.T., the Extraterrestrial. So we love that. Her show is called Conscious Creation. I'm also a media consultant coming from CBS Radio. Well, I teach people how to cope with major media these days. Coping in a very positive way, actually making a profit from whatever entrepreneurial products or services they have, and becoming solvent entrepreneurs that way. Yeah. And if you need any help in that direction, you can email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right, that's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS Radio listeners for coming up with that handle, alcoholic. We love that. Seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. And also you can visit my website for more tuning in on Al Cole. Tuning in literally. You can hear my broadcast there and everything else. All the unsung heroes that I've honored at my People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards over the years. And that's peopleofdistinction.org. Today, I want you to stick around here. We've got a wonderful guest, and he is particularly sensitive to children's sensitivities. Now, a lot of you are parents out there, so you're going to like this guy. Mark Albini is his name, and he's written a wonderful, gripping book for kids. Jimmy the Giraffe. All right, got to get to know Jimmy. The giraffe is not an animal that we see very much in the United States. Other parts of the world, yeah, you might see giraffes sometimes. But children are always gripped by giraffes. You know, that long neck. And they're gripped by elephants. And sometimes they're gripped by lions and tigers and bears. You know, some of the animals that, wow, we really think we want to stay away from. And then there are domesticated animals as well. Yeah, you know, we could call them sometimes farm animals. The dogs, the cats, the other animals that you might have around. How would you like it if they all got together and said, you know, we like each other? The fierce animals, well, we think of fierce, and the domesticated animals that, we kind of love in our own everyday lives. If they all got together, wow, possibility thinking here. Well, they do get together in Jimmy the Giraffe, and Jimmy the Giraffe is from the wonderful Rescue Ranch Children's Book Series. So, are you getting the picture? Yeah. You know, we can get along too as members of our human family. Maybe if we start thinking a little bit more like children, and I'm not saying being childish, but maybe getting back to that innocence of love. Yeah, love for life. We're babies, firstborn, and we look around, we say, I love you, life. Thank you for bringing me into this wonderful adventure. And maybe if we can keep that up, even throughout our adulthood, we can look at life itself as, wow, you're my brother, you're my sister. You were once a baby too, right? Yeah, you once loved life just as much as I did with love-colored glasses right from the start. We don't need to hate each other and have that contentiousness around our society that particularly we have maybe these days. Let's be like the animals sometimes. Let's get along. Even farm animals and rescue animals, maybe the lions, tigers, and bears, metaphorically. Yeah, we can do that, especially with children's books. And that's what Mark is all about. And if you're all about there too, well, there are two ways that you can visit Mark and order his book, Jimmy the Giraffe. You can go to Amazon. It's listed there. You can also go to his website, markalbinibbookseries.com. Welcome, Mark, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. It's really a pleasure to have you on today. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about it. Now, you're an adult. Maybe you have children. What made you want to write children's books to begin with, Mark?
Well, it wasn't something that drove me to write the books as so much as helping out a friend of my wife's who was a starving artist that had no work. And one day I said to her as I was checking out at a grocery store, I'll write a children's book and you can do the artwork and we'll see if we can sell it. And she said, great, I'm going on vacation. I'll be back in a week. And she came back a week later. I said, I got great news. I wrote 4 books this week. And she said, oh, I decided to get married. I'm moving to Colorado. I can't do it. And now I've got 28 books to the series.
Look at that. 28 books. Over what framework of time? What length of time?
It took about 2 years to write them all. And the first 4 are published, and book 17 is published. But the first book to the series, Jimmy the Giraffe, is the opening and the first set of characters I introduce on the Rescue Ranch farm.
All right, let's introduce it to my listening audience right now. Tell us about the character of Jimmy the Giraffe.
Well, Jimmy wakes up a little late one morning and rushes off to school, but he stops off for a quick bale of hay with his friend Howie the horse. And when he does, he leans up against the barn and gets that long neck dirty and feels very embarrassed to go to school. So he plays hooky from school and hangs out and hides out in the barn. And while he's in there, a small little barn mouse by the name of Bobo comes out and asks him, what is your name and why are you here? This barn's been my home for more than a year. And, of course, the giraffe looks at him and says, well, my name is Jimmy and I'm a giraffe. And I'm waiting for Howie to help with my bath. I don't like to get wet and I don't want you to laugh, but I'd rather be a horse than I would a giraffe. Well, in the end, after some words of wisdom from Bobo, he realizes that being a giraffe on the farm is a whole lot easier than being a horse. There's a whole lot of work for a horse to do, not so much for a giraffe. So in the end, he realized that becoming a horse or pretending to be led Jimmy to think, I'd just rather be me. Soon Jimmy grew tired of being a horse. A happy giraffe would be better, of course. And the moral here is be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Now, that's a great moral. And we know that as human beings. And now when we put characterization in animal terms, that makes it even stronger sometimes. And we know about cartoons and how children are drawn to cartoons and adults, too, at some points when they are allegorical, when they have that dual meaning going on. Is there, you mentioned that there could be a dual meaning here in terms of the moral, and certainly that's something that you structure into your work and something ahead of time. Is that also something that is a lifestyle element with you particularly, Mark?
Well, I would think so. For instance, the golden rule is alive and well on the Rescue Ranch. Everybody looks out for their neighbor. Everyone's friends with everybody until the outsiders show up. The bobcats, the bears, the skunks, the snakes, and the coyotes, the ones that are not welcome on the farm. But together, the farm animals like the horses and cows and barn mice, and the rescued zoo animals like lions, tigers, bears, and giraffes become the best of friends, and together they protect the farm and fend off the wild animals that come onto the farm to cause trouble.
Now, tell us a little bit about this synergy here that I talked about in the introduction and that offline you told me about, when, in your terminology, the farm animals and the rescue animals get together and they're friends. And further, they protect the farm against, some of the really fierce animals that want to do ill. Give us that rundown as well, Mark.
All right. Well, throughout the series, I've created as many as 45 characters through book 28. In the book number 1, you have your first 2 farm animals, Bobo the mouse and Howie the horse, who live on the farm and were born there. Jimmy the giraffe was the first rescue to come over from the zoo. And, of course, while he was there, he made very good friends with both Bobo and Howie the horse. And their relationship will even continue throughout the 28 books. Now, you may not see him in every book. You might see him in book 1, and book 7, book 14, and book 27. But that is the same energy between those characters is created and exists between all the characters that come over from the zoo to the farm and all the ones that were born on the farm. And like I said, there are 45 characters now, and so the interaction as you get further into the series is much greater. You have all different sorts of animals that would normally never be friends with one another, becoming friends, like a frog and a hog, or a giraffe and a barn mouse. Simple as that.
It's not as simple as that. It's never that simple. Now, I know maybe in your book it's that simple, but my listening audience, they're a little bit more probing here. They want to know how you develop that synergy. Tell us how you as a writer, as a creative force, there were certain episodes, maybe with Jimmy the giraffe and that horse that you were talking about earlier, where maybe there was a little bit of friction. In the writing process, you brought it out, and then they did something to really endear each other to each other. Give us one of those examples of the depth that was put into this to develop some of these unlikely relationships, as you've already said. Tell us how it was really done.
Well, because there are so many characters, the relationships go back and forth. I have a lion and a lamb that become the best of friends in one story. In this case, it was Howie the horse and Jimmy the giraffe, and they became friends with Bobo the mouse. All of these take place in an effort to do a couple of things. One, to show the love between these animals, as I feel the same sort of love towards any kind of animal. And also, I wanted everybody to realize, I guess that reads the book, that, well, the golden rule is alive and well on the rescue ranch. Everybody looks out for everybody, especially when it comes to defending the farm against the outsiders. Nobody ever gets hurt, but they do get outsmarted. And in collective minds like the barn mouse and a giraffe find a way for some good morals, some good lessons, some good advice, or maybe just some good manners to come out of the relationship.
Absolutely. And that's why I want you to order this book, Jimmy the Giraffe, by our special guest here today on People of Distinction, Mark Albini, and it's from the Rescue Ranch Children's Book Series. You can grab it over at Amazon, Amazon.com, and don't forget his website, markalbinibooksseries.com. And I will say it was brought to me again, by UR-Link Publishing, one of the best publishers in the country around the world, urlinkpublishing.com, to go for your book needs. I'm going to make a quick reflection here based on what Mark was just talking about. He used the magic word. Yeah, the magic word that we use a lot on People of Distinction. Love. There's nothing more magical than love. He also talked about interests. Well, we love people on the basis of some sort of common shared interest. That's no big revelation. We understand that. And at a certain point, now I'm not trying to rewrite his book at all. You're my listening audience, relating to you right now as well. At a certain point, an animal acts like a human being. We know that. We're all living in the same world. And generally, we have a lot of the same values. We were created by the Creator, created all. So we have that creational value, let's say, of we want to love. We want to reach out. We want to synergize. We want to make friends. Sometimes we have to have a good reason for it, though. Yeah. And sometimes the best reason is a common shared interest. Values. Things along that line. And even with a giraffe and a horse, well, maybe they have something in common. Maybe it's not obvious, but maybe what they have in common is, and I'm going to put it in the extreme way right now, survival. Yeah, they're there on the farm, and then all of a sudden they realize, wow, we're both imperiled here. Sometimes, we might see each other as essentially different. You're a giraffe, I'm a horse, you're a giraffe. But boy, now we got a common enemy. And those are the fierce animals that are trying to do us in. Okay. And so they get together. And now they like each other because they are doing something for each other's self-interest. But it doesn't end there. Now, it could end there with Mark's book. But again, you're my listeners right now. And I'm going to put another pathway in. See if Mark, agrees with this too. That maybe even the fierce animals can be overcome through love. Maybe there's a point at which we can all be friends, that we can all love one another. And again, using animals as some sort of allegorical tool, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe we can even say, you know what? You fierce animals, you still have something in common with us because maybe there's something fiercer than you that you fear. We live in a fear-based world, people. But maybe we can make that fear into love with a common interest. And maybe that common interest is what Mark said too, the golden rule. Getting back to whatever creative force got us here in the first place. Maybe we owe it to that creative force that since we're all brothers and sisters in the end, created by a common force, maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's our ultimate common interest. Yeah, what do you think, people? On People of Distinction, we talk that way. Mark, is that making any sense here, the way I'm running it down right now?
Well, it does. In fact, I can't get all of that done in just the first book of the series, in Jimmy the Giraffe. But the 17th book, A Rescue Ranch Christmas, all of that takes place. Yeah. In that book, everyone gathers by Henry's pigsty to sing Christmas carols, except the outsiders. It's only the people that were born on the farm, or the animals that were born on the farm, and the rescued zoo animals that came over to the farm. But they're all headed to Henry's pigsty to sing Christmas carols on Christmas Eve when Lucy the lion, one of the rescues, goes off into the hills and brings back Grant the grizzly, Billy the bobcat, Sammy the snake, and Scotty the skunk, and lets the outsiders all come down and join in the Christmas carols where they all hold hands and sing together. So the spirit of Christmas was alive and well on the rescue ranch, and everybody was loved, even the outsiders.
We love that.
Right? Well, of course, it's a fictional farm where you have the animals like farm animals as well as the rescued zoo animals that are thrown together to live their life together. They get along very well, and they look out for one another. But Jimmy gets some special advice from a little barn mouse named Bobo, and Bobo becomes the title, or part of the title of the book, too, which is called Ricky and Bobo. They decide to sneak out of their home to go looking for food and end up deciding the best way home at the end of the day is across a lake, so they make a boat out of a piece of tree bark. And the next thing you know, then a small gust of wind pushed their boat on the lake, and that's when they knew they had made a mistake. Neither could swim. The water was rough. Getting home safely was going to be tough. But then a big wave washed over the bark, and poor little Bobo disappeared in the dark. Ricky was frantic, yelling, "Man overboard." But when he didn't see Bobo, he prayed to the Lord. So I bring a little bit of church into it. He ends up being saved by Freddie the fish, and that's the title of the book 3, Terry and Freddie. And that's an old hare and the tortoise story, only it's the fish and the turtle, and they race underwater until the race is interrupted by my first villain, Sammy the snake. He goes out looking for food and smells something good off in the fog. He smells Philip the frog, So when he goes looking for something to eat, the race is on for Philip to get away. And he becomes the title to book 5, and he escapes from the lake and ends up at Bobo's shed. But Bobo's not home. He's invited in for something to eat by Bobo's spouse. But what happens there is Ricky the rabbit shows up, and he's being chased by Sammy the snake. So they all run out the back door, and they slip in some bog in the pigsty of Henry the hog, and he becomes the title to book 6. And then in that book is when I first bring in my lion, tiger, and bear, oh my, from the zoo. I bring in Big Ben the bear, Tommy the tiger, and Lucy the lion. And that's kind of where the entire farm starts to really come alive. You have all of these big actors and players that can now take on the wild animals that come on the farm to cause trouble. The grizzly bear, the bobcats, and even the skunk, who's quite small but can chase everybody away very quickly. But now there are 28 books to the series, and each one of these characters, I tell a story through their eyes, what it's like to be on the rescue ranch for a day. And each one of those stories will have a very unique ending, moral, lesson, advice, or maybe just good manners, but something that all kids need in today's world.
Look at that. Great way to put it, Mark. And I always end all of my shows with possibility thinking. It's become a winner on People of Distinction. My listeners love it. The guests, wow, boy, they give some great explications. And I'm going to put it this way. Possibility thinking is whatever my guest was talking about in positive terms, if it came to pass, actually, in our world, what would our world look like? And I'm going to put it this way, particularly in terms of what you've been talking about. Jimmy the giraffe and that horse, eventually becoming friends, and now in another book of your series, a later book, everybody, seemingly becoming friends, living by that golden rule. All right, if we had a world, maybe next week if we're really lucky, but hey, let's give it 10 years. Our human development here, under, that supreme being or whatever, where we realize not only do we have more in common than we have in difference, but we've conquered our differences, and we have become, like the animals, friendly to each other. No more war, things along that line. All right, utopian thinking, a lot of people would say, but look, this is possibility thinking, and everybody would really love a world like that. If we actually had a world like that, what kind of world would that really look like? That it doesn't look like now, Mark. Big question, but hey, you're a big guy, and you can come up to the wonderful answer of that inspirationally for my listeners. What kind of world would that look like?
Well, it would look a lot like the Rescue Ranch children's book series. It would look exactly like that, as a matter of fact. Just about any little saying or phrase you've heard in your lifetime is used in my series. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. It's never been fair to judge a book by its cover. All of these little adages that you've heard growing up in time are used to pretty much close out one of my stories. So I create an entire scenario, an entire adventure between these animals, and then at the end, there's a very logical ending to it all by using one of these phrases that we've all heard sometime in the past.
Mm-hmm. Like it. We like it very much here on People of Distinction. That kind of world would look like the world of Mark's Rescue Ranch Children's Book Series, and we agree. And I'm going to cap off the show with a couple of cents of my own to underscore the great sense that our guest, Mark Albini, has been making in possibility thinking and throughout the show. People, we do have that world. Yeah. When we really love somebody, that world exists within our consciousness, within our awareness, particularly with spouses, and more particularly with spouses who have been married maybe for 50, 60 years. I've had people come on my show that have been married for 70 years. Now, at a certain point, we grow into each other. We understand each other sometimes before words intervene. We understand each other through that beautiful love energy that we share. Now, at that point, we're saying to ourselves not so much the usual phrase, I want to be the very best that I can be. All right, be that. But I want to be the very best that you can be, honey. You know, talking to that other human being. Tell me how I can do that. Now, you might not say it in words, but see, your glow, that love glow says it. That is already masterminding that beautiful possibility world. To keep it going, we have to outstretch just that one individual to many individuals. And we do that sometimes. We have a collection of friends and a collection of family. And we're being the very best that somebody else can be. We're being the very best example that we know that that other person really strives for and maybe has achieved. So why can't we do it with maybe people that we don't know? Yeah. Give people the benefit of the doubt, people. Yeah, you, my listening audience. And the best way to do that maybe is through prayer. And I'll just put it this way very quickly. When you pray for some of the people that you love, when you pray for yourself, also include a prayer for somebody that you don't know. Whoa, yeah, maybe one of these farm animals. Pray for someone or something that you don't really know and send it out there in the name of love. Hey, this goes out to you in the name of love, whatever love is. But we know what love is. Love comes from deep within, that heart and soul, that bound aspect that was first there when we were babies, that innocence of love. Just send it out, and with the trust that it's going to go into somebody's heart. And maybe when it transmits to somebody's heart, maybe that heart will transmit it back to you. Wow. Now there are two. Two people who used to be strangers, who are friends now. Maybe they don't even know that they're friends, but the universe does. Or God does. Yeah. See, at that point, man, you're doing God a big favor. Get it. We talk this way on People of Distinction with Al Cole. And especially when we have Mark Albini, who wrote the book on it, Jimmy the Giraffe. And I want you to order that book again at Amazon.com. Go to Mark's website, MarkAlbiniBookSeries.com as well. Thank you again, Mark, for being my special guest on People of Distinction with Al Cole.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark.